My name is Raymond Hendrix. Some of you might have known me, some of you know me shortly. But I did a thing. And I was asked to do a Wi-Fi network, a Wi-Fi design, implementation, and monitoring of a Wi-Fi network for the Dutch Formula One Grand Prix. And so this is the Dutch Formula One Grand Prix, you see, and like 51 weeks of the year, it's quite quiet. But once a year, for the last 2 years, there's a Formula One. And so what happens is you turn a track like this into a track like this. So there's temporary seating made of scaffolding for roughly 70,000 people. And so Wi-Fi needs to be in all these colored areas. Different types of Wi-Fi. So we have Wi-Fi for the press. We have Wi-Fi for over 1,000 iPads that are all used for payments. So, and those suddenly become mission critical devices because money needs to come in. The only thing we didn't do is we didn't do Wi-Fi for the public. Like, there wasn't enough bandwidth available to do Wi-Fi for the public. So it was a great event, lots of stuff happening, and it's always, well, what do you use? What kind of tools are you going to use? What we did is we installed a network, a temporary network called MeteorNet, and it's a German company called Riedel that have developed this, and it's, well, in short terms, it's a redundant, self-healing, fiber-based mesh network for audio, video, and data. So we ran 50 kilometers of temporary fiber. We installed in total of 8 FortiGates, all on high availability. So we had 4 WAN links coming in, over 100 switches, lots of APs, and you'd maybe expect more APs, but then again, we didn't do density. We had to cover a lot of area. And so those those Aruba APs were controlled by 2 controllers in a high availability setup. So just that you know, okay, this is, and that stuff has to be monitored. So this is a view of the Riedel dashboard, where you can see all the mesh links coming in, making sure that you have a redundant network. Tools. What tools? So this talk is top 3 tools for a Wi-Fi network engineer. So we need to talk about tools. And so what are the most used tools that I've used during the Dutch One Grand Prix? So was it the WLPC, so that I could do some iPerf testing or look at client capabilities? Nope, sorry, wasn't the WLPC. So it must have been NFHU, right? Like doing designs and validation and, no, sorry, it wasn't NFHU. Now, it should have been NetAlly because they gave me a G3, but no, wasn't NetAlly. So the problem with events is NFHU. Anyone know NFHU? NFHU is nice for home use. So we bring all these nice fancy boxes and equipment and all this stuff, bring it there, and you also want to take it back. So that brings me to the engineering flowchart. And everybody knows the engineering flowchart? So it doesn't need to move to. There's also an extended version of the engineering flowchart. But we're talking about NFHU. So it shouldn't move. So that brings me to the real top 3 tools that I've been using. And one of them is Gaffer Tape. We used lots and lots and lots of Gaffer Tape. And mind you, Gaffer Tape, not duct tape. Because gaffer tape is, you can tape it somewhere and then take it off again, and it's really sturdy. You can stick it to anywhere. Look at the cables here. And the good thing of duct tape is you can also remove it. It doesn't leave any plastic residue or anything else. So you can hold down cables, and you can stick APs to a ceiling. So this is a picture I took from the MetaGeek, what's his name again, his Twitter. But yeah, you can stick anything to a ceiling with gaffer tape. And as we saw on the Flowchart, if it doesn't, just add more gaffer tape. Second one. Oh, back one, sorry. The second tool we used a lot is zip ties, like massive amount of zip ties. And not these tiny zip ties, like, no, these mother of all zip ties, like where you could hold down a truck. But zip tie is not just for holding stuff together, but zip tie is also for AP first aid. It's an event and things break, so you can use zip ties for a lot of other things as well. So AP first aid, for example. But that brings me, so top 3 tools, that brings me to the last one, the number one, the one tool to deploy them all. So the tool that I've been using most, which I almost bring everywhere, is my Leatherman Charge. Mind you, this is not FAA approved, so I've had instances I came to the airport like, ooh, and then you need to buy a new one. But there's also a Leatherman bracelet, which doesn't have a knife. You can take the entire plane apart, but it is allowed to go on the airplane. But yeah, Leatherman Charge, so what you can do is you can cut zip ties and gaffer tape and tighten bolts, untighten bolts. But the biggest tool that I used, well, not biggest, the smallest tool that I used was this one right here. Because I had to reset a lot of APs. So yeah, my number one tool using during events was my Leatherman Charge. So I also want to take this opportunity to thank you as a community. You might or might have known that stuff has happened. So I would like to thank you for your support. Thank you for your feedback and guidance, and for being there when I needed it. And I came to the conclusion that it is time to let go and move on. So yeah, that's it. The end, or to be continued.